When it comes to recording vocals, even the best mic in the world won't be able to deliver its best if it falls victim to poor mic technique on the part of the performer and engineer. Singers in live situations on stage all learn about mic technique one way or the other, often the hard way. They learn that when they're holding a handheld mic, not to cover the back of the ball end completely with their hand, as this will defeat the mechanism that gives the mic its directional response, often resulting in feedback. They learn to pull back a little when they suddenly get loud to avoid uncomfortable level jumps and possible overloads down the line. And they learn how to work the mic for tone. Getting the mic right up to their lips provides a deeper, bassier tone, and they can use that, or avoid it, as appropriate. In the studio, there's also mic technique involved, but in many cases, best practice would be very different from what a singer would do on stage, or how the engineer would set up mic and performer for the session. Many of the stage techniques I just described would be wrong or inappropriate for a studio recording. The studio brings its own set of requirements for getting the best out of any mic. One of the main ones involves maintaining the optimal distance for recording. On stage, against a loud band, it's appropriate for the singer to get right up on the mic, an inch or less from the windscreen. Since those mics are directional, this provides the loudest possible vocal signal against the least volume from other sounds on stage for a better isolated vocal signal. Traditional stage mics, handheld dynamics, and even the occasional stage condenser are designed to allow for this. They're built to accommodate the close-up sound source and still sound smooth and balanced, though they will exhibit some of the inevitable artifact of close positioning, the bass boost singers all come to know. Studio condensers are not designed for that, and a little more distance needs to be maintained. Most of the time, a vocal mic, on stage or in the studio, will be directional, usually with some variation of a cardioid response pattern, which will be most sensitive to sounds arriving at the front of the mic and to some degree reject sounds from the back and sides, depending on the specific type of cardioid pattern. But directional mics almost all exhibit a side effect of their directionality, the tendency for the bass response to increase, often significantly, when the sound source is closer to the mic. This boost is referred to as the proximity effect. Vocalists know it well. Singers take advantage of it on stage to add some fullness to their voices, and radio announcers love it for that voice of God quality it can sometimes lend to their delivery. But for studio vocal recording, the proximity effect is not your friend. Stage mics expect the effect, and their low-end response is allowed to fall off a bit, which it would anyway, so the boost may be usable. And any extra layer of windscreen protection built into mics intended for handheld or up-close use will help to protect the diaphragm from excessive wind noise and popping. Close-in use, however, comes at the expense of the most natural vocal sound. That really up-close vocal tone would be fine live, but it wouldn't sound very natural or very good in a recording heard over a good system in a cleaner listening environment. Studio vocal condensers, on the other hand, are designed for a natural, open sound that can give a vocal great intelligibility, depth, and that you or there intimacy in playback. And while modern condensers aren't as delicate as some people imagine, they're definitely not designed to be subjected to blasts of air from a performer an inch away from the mic's diaphragm. With their more extended low-end response, not only would a source at this distance develop way too much proximity bass boost, but the mic would likely suffer from other noise and breath issues as well. To take advantage of those qualities of air and detail that a good studio condenser can deliver, the singer needs to maintain a somewhat greater optimal distance from the mic in recording. Generally, this would be at least about a foot or so away from the mic, more or less. If you want a slightly more intimate sound, with maybe a little extra warmth from proximity, you could have the singer move in to around 6 inches, providing you take the proper steps to prevent other distance artifacts. I'm going to address that in the next video. Engineers will often mark off a spot for the singer to establish the desired distance. One casual yardstick traditionally employed is to hold up a hand between the singer's mouth and microphone, as shown, fingers together or apart depending on the size of the person's hand. This will usually be a span of somewhere in that 6-inch to 12-inch range, and it's a quick and easy way for singers to occasionally check that they haven't been pulling in too close without realizing it. Now, you may notice that many mics have high-pass filters built in that can be switched into the circuit. The usual intent for these is to filter out subsonics like rumbling, footfalls, or mic stand bumps, and they're meant to accomplish this with as little effect on the mic's audible bass response as possible. Their cutoff frequencies are typically set at close to the lower limits of the voice. But some mics may also employ a more gentle filter with a higher cutoff that would be closer to the range, around 100 to 200 Hz or so, where proximity bass boost would build up. Switching such a filter in might help to control proximity effect if the singer tends to lean in without realizing it, or you need to maintain a distance in the closer part of the recommended range due to potential leakage issues. At the optimal distance, typical studio vocal condensers will deliver their most natural tonal balance, free of any excessive chestiness or boominess from proximity.
Your seductive promises are always so enticing. Out of sight, out of mind, fall for it every time.
There's another potential vocal recording mistake also related to mic distance and placement: plosives. I'll pick up there in the next clip.